So what's a piece of running advice you were given that turned out to be completely wrong for you?
For a long time, I was told you need to train yourself for fat adaptation. Now that I've shifted to absolutely need some proper carbs, and the more I do it, the more I'm like, half a banana is not cutting it here. I'm going to need a whole banana. So I think the fasted running, which apparently is like the worst thing you can do as a woman, especially, it's like a total no-go. Very bad advice.
There's a piece here of like understanding what works for you and where your weaknesses and strengths and the areas you want to work on or want to sort of prioritize. Over the last couple of years, I've done quite a lot of stock training plans, and I've used the SWAP, David Roach, Megan Roach plans. I did one of their plans for Leadville last year, and I don't think it really got my legs strong enough. They're a big focus on running economy. For me, the strength wasn't made as sort of a primary component of it. I feel like they might have said, do some strength here, do some strength there, but it was sort of, it's the bit that always fell by the wayside. It's not so much the advice is wrong, but they had quite philosophical things, which I'm not sure fully worked for me. And welcome back to another episode of Two Average Runners. I'm one of your co-hosts, Hugh Edwards. I'm here with my fellow co-host, Alice Penn. And Alice, how are you doing today?
Very good, Hugh. As we were saying offline, there's never been a better time to be alive when it comes to sport right now. So I'm in a great mood. So I'm looking forward to discussing a bit of that. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. There is a lot of sport on right now. Which is sort of both, it's almost hard to keep up with some of it. There's some parts that I'm on top of, well, close to on top of, and some I'm completely behind on. So,
are you watching Tour de France?
I am watching Tour de France. I freaking love Tour de France each year.
It's the best. Have you ever been in person? Because this is my goal to go soon.
I have
next
not.
year, I say.
I have not. Okay. Well, next year we will go because it starts in the UK.
Oh, does it? Okay, brilliant.
Yes.
So I'm literally I'm ready to go. I cannot wait.
And I think it's like they start in Scotland, they come down through the north of England. I think stage 3 next year is in Wales. Goes through the Brecon Beacons. So I think that's the spot to try to go and see.
You'll have to bring Henry for the summer holes.
I think we will do summer holes for the Tour de France.
Amazing.
In Wales. I also I loved as a kid going over, like catching a ferry to to France, northern France, Normandy or Brittany, and little cobbled streets and just like, so maybe we'll see if we can get over. Yeah, I have to check. I've been sort of meaning that like one of the next times the tour is in northern France, that it would be cool to like get a ferry over there. Because the weather can be a little crappy in northern France, but that's okay. But I almost like, maybe I'll even be able to drag my mum at that point, because there's no way my mum's going to the Alps or going to southern France in the heat. But
and are you a Tadej Pogačar fan?
I am a huge Tadej Pogačar fan, just because of just his whole.
I suddenly saw a look on your face, and I thought, oh no, what?
Oh no!
Don't tell me you're not.
Tadej for the win. I still remember the tour in 2020, and obviously it was a COVID year, so the tour was like in like August, September, and that was like Tadej was sort of coming on the scene. I think he'd come third in the Vuelta or something the year before or something, but and he was sort of hovering there, but it was like Primož Roglič who was leading that and was the favorite, and then like Tadej got him on the last time trial on the last day, and Primož blew up and Tadej won the tour, and it was like, who is this, like, I don't know if he was 20 years old.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. And his attitude, he's so happy-go-lucky. He's having fun. He obviously trains like an absolute animal, but like he sort of really gets his team on side. He's a very likable winner, even though he just goes and wins everything. It'd be easy to hate him. But I love the tour. For us, it's kind of cool. It's a switch it on as soon as you get up thing. Because like we get up in the morning, it's already going. So it's always on a little screen somewhere around the house in the mornings. And so that's kind of really cool. And then I'm a big fan, love him and hate him, and not like condoning his behavior in cheating in past tours. But Lance Armstrong has a podcast, and it's quite entertaining with George Hincapie and Johan Brunel and Spencer Martin and Sir Bradley Wiggins does it during the tour, and they're just very entertaining.
Apparently, Bradley Wiggins' book is really interesting. His whole history.
Apparently, he's gone on a big journey through abuse, alcohol and drug abuse, and addiction.
Yeah,
and it was only recently he was in his lows. A couple 2-3 years ago was his dark bottom, and Lance was quite instrumental in sort of be one of the few people to like support him and and so he, it's just a cool story, and obviously Lance is sober, I think, as well, from choice, not from anymore. So I think Lance is a villain. Like, you kind of love to hate him. And obviously he was the ultimate. But that's why I love when we think about Pogacar. Like, Lance was amazing. Obviously he was a doper, but like, there were a lot of people doping. He was he was a killer, and his team were a killer. But he was like, everyone hated him because he was a dick,
He was an arsehole.
He was an arsehole.
For me, the jury's still out on Lance Armstrong. I'll give his podcast a go. But what I love this week is Pogacar, day 2, he's riding up at the end, sprint finish with his teammate Del Toro, and he signals to him, come through, and lets the guy take a stage win, which, not everybody gets to do in their career. And day 3, he took the yellow jersey himself. So I thought that was really cool.
I think the day 2 was really interesting because it's sort of like Del Toro thought he was leading Pogacar out, but like he dropped everyone. Pogacar could have come around, but you could see Pogacar then be like, go, 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 and like letting him.
Yeah.
And I'm always a little bit torn at times when someone gifts a win to someone else. There's part of me is like, but in this case, I think it was the amount of work that Del Toro had done that day for Pogacar, and then the lead out, and so early on, so young in his first tour for
exactly.
For Del Toro.
I think it was great.
And now Del Toro's going to do everything for. That's what I like.
Of
that's
course.
why
there's a real bromance on the go there. I see.
Yeah, but also that
Instagram.
there's no doubt that Del Toro is going to go to the well for the rest of this tour.
Yeah, of course.
He's going to do anything and everything at the service of Pogacar because Pogacar helped him win his first tour stage. So it's like it's a real investment Pogacar made there, and I'm loving the tour. I'm loving the tour so far. It's great that it's off to a bang. Sometimes the tours are slow starters. Sometimes lots of these long sprint stages, and then have lots of they're so tense. It's a big bunch. There's lots of crashes. Whereas this one, I feel like it got hard and hot really early, and they're already in the mountains. So yeah. So that's kind of that. I think you've been watching some Wimbledon. Right?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how your week's been. Give us your scores.
Well, yeah. I think technically I'm supposed to ask you, aren't I? But I was so ingrained. I'm so ingrained in this this sport. But let me throw it to you first then, because that's how I was supposed to do it today. So how has your week been, Alice?
My week has been great. So sports is giving me all the energy I need. I see that I'm not a football fan because just because I grew up. It's not like I'm not a fan, but I'm rugby ahead. Mm-hmm. But the World Cup's on, so a bit of World Cup fever. You know what the Brits are like, or the English are like with their football. So everybody's been up at all hours here watching the game, and everyone's very excited. It's coming home and all the usual. So
is it coming home? Is it coming home?
Well, you know what it's like.
Is it coming home? I don't think it's coming home.
I don't know.
I don't think it's coming home.
But it is.
But, yes.
But the general excitement. So you know what it's like in the UK, and everybody's in a pub, and there's a reason to be out, and everyone's in a great mood. So there's that side of things. It's hot, it's sunny, it's summer. British wild card through at Wimbledon. Took out Dimitrov in 5 sets yesterday. His name is Arthur Ferry. He's 23. He was at the start of the tournament ranked 114. So again, just a great story. And, Wimbledon for the Brits, for the English is just the tournament. So, again, a great good news story. And for me personally, I love to be a South African, a Springbok supporter, living in the UK when we get to beat England. And we thumped them this weekend. And I'm not usually a smug person, but I love it and I feel very smug. So
you should. I mean,
45-21. And actually probably could have, that maybe looks quite good for England. So anyway,
did you watch the game?
In great spirits. I watched some of it, not all of it. I also had to walk my dog. But so personal side of things,
great.
I'm very G'd up. My running.
Right. How about
running? Some amusing stories. So, this whole thing that my coach has me doing, marathon pace intervals into parkrun, into marathon pace intervals. Apparently, this is on the menu for X number of months ahead of me, so I've got to get my head around it. So I went down to Battersea this week. From St. Albans, I have to leave super early, get on the train. I timed it. I was perfect. And then I saw them setting up for another race in Battersea Park. So I didn't see any parkrun signs. I thought, no parkrun. Bumped into a friend, got very busy gassing, talking away. No parkrun. I said, started my marathon pace block. Sure enough, I see there's a bloomin' parkrun. So I basically mistimed the whole thing. So they had already done, most of them had done 1 lap of parkrun by the time I was ready to do my 5K. So I sort of stood at the side and then waited for some fast people to come past and then joined in.
Amazing.
And had to do my own parkrun again. but I did better than last week. And then I went into a marathon pace block. And basically, so that was good because I messed up the timings, but Battersea Park was pumping. I saw lots of people I knew. I'm getting to sort of know people there, but I am also having this funny thing with this random guy down there. Okay, so I thought I'd share this with you. So I often go and do my sessions down there, and some people run clockwise and some run counterclockwise, and sometimes I mix it up, but I'm normally going the same way you go around the track. So what's that? Counter. All right. Anti-clockwise, whatever you want to call it. And there's this guy, and he's in very short shorts, no shirt always, fairly hairy guy, but he's quite blonde. So he's always, in my mind, he's like Scandinavian, he's Norwegian, or maybe he's German, or he just has that look, maybe ex-military. He's a bit older like me, but he's always in very short shorts, and he's very serious, and he does very long sessions, and he runs in the opposite direction to me. And for months and months and months on end, he will just like almost look the other way when he's coming past, like almost like he's showing like how fast he is. And then we often sort of cross each other when we're refueling and all of this, but he's very committed. He's always there. So anyway, a few months ago, I was down there, and for whatever reason, he has decided to stop on the side, and he's watching me when I come past, and he's looking at his watch. And then he's still on the side when I do the next loop. He's watching me again. The next time I come past, he jumps on to what I'm doing and basically joins me for my interval. But he's pushing right behind me. So now I'm like, this guy. Like I'm supposed to be sitting, this is before London, I'm supposed to sit at like 4:12, do my marathon pace. Just bloody guys at my heels. I think, all right, mate. Because in my mind, I built him up as like this guy's competing with me every week, okay?
Okay.
Now he's pushing. So I'm at like 4:10, 4:05, 4, 3:55. I'm thinking, when is this guy going to stop? So eventually after 2Ks, he stops his watch. Before he stops his watch, he's like, great running, I love it. And he's like all enthusiastic. And since then, he's my new best friend. So
my God.
Sure enough, he was down there this weekend, and when he had finished, he was standing beside and he was clapping, he was cheering. And meanwhile, sometimes he sees me, I'm in my float, so I'm going quite slowly. So there's a whole thing going on with this random guy, and he does sound German, by the way, so I obviously wasn't wrong. But anyway, it's all very hysterical for me, because normally as a woman, you have these issues, you're overtaking guys or whatever. But anyway, this guy's my new best friend, and he's definitely going to be trying to join me in my sessions, I think, coming up. So it's all becoming rather amusing for me. So, but you know what? It's quite fun. You sort of, okay, maybe he's a stalker, I don't know, but it is quite fun down there. You get to meet people and chat. So, and then this Sunday coming, I've got the Saucony 10K. So I've got a bit of a race. So we'll see how that goes. And I'll let you know next week. But yeah, that's me. So running was great this week. And my injury, that niggle that I had, is settling. So that's good.
That's great. That's wonderful. Awesome.
What about you?
It's been a great week. All the sport over on the weekend. It was 4th of July. Happy birthday, America.
Yes, I forgot
250 years. And obviously I'm an American citizen now as well. So it's sort of my second 4th of July. Last 4th of July, we went camping in West Texas, which was super fun with a group. So that was kind of a 4th of July. This one just here in San Antonio. Did a lot of fun stuff with the little Henry. We went to there's one of our friends, some friends of ours live in this neighborhood called River Road, which is super low key. And they have this little parade. And like by a parade, I mean, it's like 20, 30 people in the neighborhood. Like they had a police guy on a bicycle to lead the parade. And then they did have a one cop car behind, that they could follow. But it's a kind of a neighborhood that's sort of like, there's no way to get out of it. It's like you just drive into the neighborhood and it's just. So anyway, and it's an old neighborhood and it's quite pictured, lots of very leafy. So anyway, that was great. Henry led off the parade. He was on his little strider, balance bike, and he just kept going ahead of everyone, which was awesome. He's so funny. And then they brought a fire truck to there's a little party at the end of the parade, and the people had there was lemonade and some breakfast and snacks and all sorts of things and games for the kids. It was just an all round lovely little 4th of July. And then we went out in the evening to the sort of our equivalent Civic Park, which is our sort of equivalent of a Hyde Park or Central Park, nowhere near as big. And they had fireworks there. So Henry stayed up late. And so in terms of then training, before that kicked off, it had a really fun 3-hour trail run this past weekend on the Friday on one of our favorite trails. I ran with a friend for the first sort of two and a quarter or something like that. And then and I needed to add on. So I just did another stint myself. It was great. It was just like flowing on some trails. We had it was, one of those ones, I think maybe we've talked before. We had some good conversation, just chit-chatting about the World Cup, about training, about races, so it was one of those sort of like, magical summer trail runs with a friend. It was great. Really, really enjoyed. And then on one other part of the weekend for my sort of training, did with Henry, we went on like almost a 2-hour hike on the trail. There was a lot of stopping and dicking around and looking at and picking up sticks and.
Was he walking himself, or were you carrying him?
Oh no, he doesn't want to be carried or what. He was walking himself. We were going on a bear hunt. He had his binoculars.
I was going to say, was this a bear hunt?
It was a bear hunt. At one point he's like, and he wants to go off trail, so he's like wants to go through the thicket and stuff. I was like, okay, this looks great. So. It was good. And for me, I have coming up now next week. I think we get one more podcast in before I go, but I'm heading to Colorado for my big adventure.
Great.
It's starting to feel quite intimidating, Alice. It's like, there's a lot of logistics. So my friend is staying out there, and the place they're staying is on the course. So one night we can just stay at his place. We are going to camp one night. So we need to sort of, and so we figured out where we could go to drop tents and drop a car with all our gear to get to. And I think we figured out, but the first day is going to be 44 miles. So it's a big first day. Again, most of that's hiking, so it's like a monstrously long day.
But still, it's a lot, yeah.
And then it's basically 2 days then of sort of 30 miles. So it's going to be, we're pretty excited. I mean, the cool thing is there is no sort of agenda. There is no target pacing. And then we're playing, they're having a bunch of fires in Colorado. The Ouray fire is not anywhere near us where we'd be going, which is good. But then it's like, we're just hoping that we don't end up with problems with smoke, because that can be the thing, air quality can be a problem. So we know, but I'm excited for a big mountain adventure. And it'll be an opportunity to test since January, I think, or maybe probably since February, the focus has been on strength.
Yeah, brilliant.
And so and we're going to talk a bit about some of that stuff today. So I think there's some interesting learnings about so I'm interested to see, because I feel like right now, my legs are strong, but I feel like I am not particularly fast right now compared to where I was in January, where I was sort of like in true sort of half marathon shape. And I felt like my threshold was good, and I feel like my running economy was really good. And I kind of feel now I'm sort of got a little strong and slow, but that's mainly because a lot of the low intensity training that I've been doing as well. So who knows?
Well, it's going to be great to hear all about it. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. All right. What do you want to cover today? We've got some listener questions this week.
I think we got like 1, 2, 3 or 4, something like that. So should we dive in with the first one?
Yeah, is that the big one?
No, the first one is a smaller one. Which
okay. Oh, yes. Let's do
a friend of mine was listening to the podcast, asked me to put the question on, which is, do we run with headphones? And, what are our thoughts about that? And actually, I heard another podcast with Rory Linklater. Is he Canadian or is he American?
Canadian. He's Canadian.
Yeah, I thought so. Canadian. I think he must be Canada's best marathoner, but he's, he's really, really quick, really great professional athlete. We're having some discussions about it as another podcast I recommend, Jake Dearden, who is in the Elite 15 for High Rocks, but he interviews great guests, so I highly recommend that. We can maybe put a link in the notes. But what is your thought on running with headphones? When would you, when wouldn't you? And I guess I'm curious with you specifically, Hugh, is there a difference between when it's trail and when it's road for you?
Yes. So I would, historically, I have done a lot of running with headphones in. And I think there's a couple of different things here for me. It's like, I have done a lot of running over the years, listening to podcasts. And I think that can be a great way to listen to a lot of podcasts. And when you're doing sort of, heavy training, lots of miles, I think that it can be a great way to pass the miles. So I always whenever I get back into, if I'm getting back into running and it's a slog, it can be useful to put a good podcast on, etc. For me though, lately, we talked a bit about this, I think, in terms of I think that for me, there's a real risk that for me personally, if I do listen to podcasts, I end up zoning out a lot, right? Yeah. And so lately, I have not been running with headphones at all to try to be a bit more present and aware.
Okay.
I think that's a lot easier on trail to do that. There's like more to sort of stimulate, and you can sort of get in a flow and observe things and listen. But I will say that, like, I think music has a place in running. And when I need to like really lock in, having some music. So like I've often have music there in a race if I need it. Like it's a big climb. It's a really tough, like you got to like, I'm going to be climbing for an hour, like want to lock in, put some music in, a good playlist. And I've similarly like often liked putting some good playlist on. Like I've had marathon playlists or different things, which is like, okay, I can really sort of try to get a bunch of like either motivating or like good flow kind of like music. So that's kind of my experience with headphones. A real mixture. I'm definitely not against it, but I'm definitely right now doing a bit more without headphones.
And if you race a marathon or a half, have you got music in? Like a road race?
So interesting to you. So yes, if I was doing a marathon, I've historically, when I've run a marathon, I've had some music with me.
Yeah.
And it depends when I put it in, if I put it in at the start. But then most recently, that half marathon I did recently in January, I knew I was going to run with the pace group. And so that one, I didn't listen to any music for the half marathon because I was like, I wanted to like, I also felt a bit kind of weird just like having my music in, but with the group. I mean, it wouldn't have been that weird actually. But I kind of, and I was open, but I didn't actually chit chat. I was open that I didn't know people would be chit chatting in the pack. But in the end, it just was kind of cool. And I kind of wanted that experience. Like, what's it like to like be in a group? You're kind of locked in, you're being very focused, but like I was able to sort of, not zone out, but like sort of like, sort of just don't overthink because like the group, I was trusting the paces. I was in that. And I was just like, we were just, like it was kind of cool. Just like the sound of us, like a pack running. So anyway, how about you?
So I think in South Africa, when I was running there, you couldn't really use headphones because it's not safe. So there's something about
safe
security.
In terms of streets, or safe because someone could be sneaking up on you or coming up on you and you just need to be more sensory aware of everything that's happening.
More sensory aware, cars, because there's not always the same. You often have to run in the road there. And this was also before, like, I've got those Shocks headphones now, which are the bone conducting.
Yes.
So you definitely wouldn't have run in with in-ear.
Yes.
Anything noise cancelling. So even when I go back to South Africa now, I'm quite wary of using. So there's something there in the culture that I don't think headphones, I don't know for sure now, but I'm not sure that people use them as often. If you're running, it may be dark. It's just not as safe, especially if you're on your own as a woman. Here, I run with my music all the time. I do put a podcast on if I've got like a 30K run. Yeah. And so for the first couple of hours, I just want to get the time on feet, miles, listen. I zone out a lot though with my headphones. So I actually sometimes don't even know if I'm listening to the music or listen to the podcast. So I think it's almost more habit, but I have been thinking about not using them as much. Now I definitely, if I go to say track or I'm doing a hard interval session, I definitely have music and I try and use it for when things are tough. But I would be interesting to see what it's like to do those sessions without music. Now, when I bumped into my coach, who is South African, during London, she had no headphones. And I think I shared after London, I almost don't know if I'd want to use music again for a big major like London. Or London maybe is different because people know you and they're cheering and it's English as well, so you can understand it. But the thing that I actually find that I don't like about headphones in races is that I'm quite sociable. So I quite like to have a little chit chat with the person I'm running near. And these days, everybody's got headphones in. So they're like, what? And they almost look, you can almost read it as, are they irritated? Like they're being like, why is this random person talking to me? So I think it cuts out a bit of that camaraderie because everybody's got their headphones in. And I think that kind of sucks a little bit. But anyway, I was hearing Rory Linklater and Jake Dearden was asking him, what do you do with headphones? Because of course the pros aren't allowed to use them during races.
Yeah.
And that's where I think my coach, because she was in the Olympics, she probably is used to doing lots of sport without the headphones. So I'd also wondered with her if that was part of it. But Rory Linklater said, he probably would use them in training if he was like me, somebody who trains on their own the whole time. The reason he doesn't in training is that he's come up through the school and the college, university system where you're always running with others. So what gets him through is that camaraderie, the presence of other people, or now the coach on the bike, etc. So it actually also then got me thinking, I think another goal for me this year would be to find people to run with and maybe not and drop the headphones, find people who may be similar to me or a little bit faster. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think it makes you soft. So I don't some people think that's the kind of reason you shouldn't, like you're relying too much on your music. But I think it would be nice to have a mixture of being a bit more social and then having those days where you need to just get through the miles and listen to a podcast, or have a really cool tune that's this is the one that gets you through an 800-meter intervals session or whatever,
It's interesting. I think there's like so many different ways to think about this. I know quite a few, so on trails, there aren't the rules where you, like a strict rule, like you can't use headphones, for example. In trail, there's different things where, like, again, like you want to be aware of around you. So like having them in you not aware is a problem. I know quite a few, like even Dave Roach has talked about this before, which is like he will listen to a lot of podcasts or music on all his training runs because he pretty much only runs solo from his home, or when he's running with his wife. But he said he would never listen to music in a race. Like in a race, you always want to just be like fully present, fully aware. Now, I think there's an interesting thing with ultras as well, which is you're so much more like need to be tuned in and managing your effort. And so I think early on, it can be really good. I've never ever put music on early in a 100-miler, for example, like usually for the first 15 miles. It's only maybe like, at Leadville, I've always never, the first aid station is like 12 and a half miles in. I've never put music before there. There's a long section of like single track, which can become a conga line. So you don't really want them in with people potentially trying to scoot past you or whatever. But I've always wanted to like be really sort of like feeling like, where am I at? And I think it's an interesting one. I think with music, it's possible to actually run a little harder than you mean to, which I don't think is a problem at all. Like, and by that, I mean, I'm less worried about in a marathon because I think you're often so focused on splits and times anyway. Yeah. But if you're sort of running like an ultra, if you put music in off the gate, you might be like, I feel fabulous. I feel great. The music's got me going.
And actually, that's what Rory Linklater said. He wouldn't do music if he had to. If he was going to use it, he wouldn't do it on his easy days because he knows he would probably just go out too fast.
So that's the thing. You go too fast. It's exactly the same mindset. Like you can end up doing it, having a bit too much. Now, at the same time, when you talk about fun, I've had some of my best moments ever, like a big trail descent, like you're on top of a mountain, you put some tunes in, and now you're flying. Cool. It's like the soundtrack to your life, right? I mean, like whenever you see something exciting in a movie or something like a chase or something, there's always music, right? So it's like you're in the computer game, you're in the movie at that point. So
cool.
Cool.
Should I read the next question out loud? I've got I think there's a few parts to it. So the listener has said that they listened to episode 5, which is when we spoke about the Chat GPT coach and who the F is Sabrina.
Yes.
I think you remember that. Yes, that was your story.
Right. Yes.
So the question is, has either of you tried training off an app or an AI plan instead of a real coach? The second part of the question is, did it work or did you end up ignoring it when you got some sort of message that you didn't want to hear? And would you advise people to use an AI plan? So any success stories with using AI?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So I haven't used a strict AI plan like I think Runner is like one of the apps.
Yeah, but although I heard Ben, who is now actually leaving Runner, but who is one of the co-founders, he said that it isn't pure AI.
Okay.
So I've heard him say that they have used, I mean, I don't know what he means by that because it is an AI app because it's adjusting but they use human coaches are programming the program. So it's not just all AI generated, but I guess maybe the human coaches set the ground basics and then the AI adapts it, I'm assuming. But he said he doesn't describe it as 100% AI because the history of the app is him doing manual run programming for for clients, and then getting so busy that he and his colleague, I think, started developing the tech to support it.
Yeah.
So I think it's supposedly a bit more of a hybrid, but let's call it an AI app.
Yeah. And then I think, so I haven't done that one. And then we've probably all seen, any of us runners here who use Strava. Strava's trying to push their own sort of like recommended workouts, which just seems stupid. None of them
isn't that through Runner?
I think it is through Runner.
Because they bought Runner.
Because they bought Runner. But it's like, again, using AI suggested. And I feel at that point that truly is like it's trying to predict something based on something. So it's like, now, so I haven't done any of those. But the things that what I have done, I have, and on a few occasions, dropped a ton of data into Claude or ChatGPT. I think I've done it into Claude. And actually, there's a way you can go on your Strava, and it's like you have to. It's go into the place where you would click to start to explore deactivating your account, and you can do a full export of all your history.
Okay, wow.
And then and so that gets a big spreadsheet, and there's a couple of different spreadsheets or different things that can come out. So you basically download that all, and then you can just drop all that into Claude, and it will analyze it all. So that's kind of cool, because I've got like 14 years of data from Strava. So it's kind of cool that it has a lot of data in there. And I've occasionally had it to sort of help me think through a few different pieces. And to the listener's question, it can be quite helpful. For example, I put a ton of data in there as I was getting ready for my half marathon in January. I put a ton of data in there to sort of, and my PRs, and then recent times and recent things I'd run, and obviously all my training, to sort of be like, hey, where do we think I'm at? And in particular, I had a friend who was pacing the sort of 135 marathon, sort of half marathon, 135 half pace group. And I knew they also had a 140 and 130. And I think at the time my PR was like 139, going in, because I hadn't run a fast half marathon in years. And I think I had said to him, and he had said something, my friend is like, oh, you're fat. Like, he's seen me train, or he sees my shots. Like, oh, you're faster now. You should run with the 130 group, right? So like the ego is thinking like, oh, 130, or whatever. And actually going with Claude, we thought we explored it all. And it was like, look, like based on everything you're at and where the journey, and this is like, this actually, the 135 is a good stretch. It is going to be hard based on, and it was like, it actually basically advised me not to like, go crazy, just to try to go for the 130. And also I also knew that I didn't want to go and then like blow up or hang, like I would rather like go 135. And if it was and so I had several checkpoints then to be like, okay, if at mile 8, how am I feeling? Do I start to push ahead? And that one was like, I'm feeling pretty on the tight. So like in the end, I didn't really go for it until like mile 12 or whatever. And then I, took another 15 seconds off the goal time. So I've had some experience. Is it something
you would advise people to use, or what you're thinking? What would you say if like somebody who's been running for 6 months and said, what do you think? Do you think I should use one of these AI apps? So
my inclination is like, I wouldn't use it to come up with the training. I'm kind of a bit skeptical of it, like coming up with a full training plan. If you're training for, if it's someone who's a newer runner and you're training for a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon or your first marathon, there are so many standard like training plans out there that you could do. Like, I think it's like Hanson's marathon method, or like, I think something like, what's his name? Like Jack Daniels is kind of famous and has like some and quite a few of them have different calculators as related to them, which are all grounded in a lot of stats of stuff that can help you. If like, oh, I run this in a 5K, how might I start to think about my paces for like marathon effort or half marathon or threshold or, intervals or reps or like different things like that. So I would encourage someone to like, go to, if they're not hiring a coach, obviously, to go to a plan that has something. But I think it's a useful thing to sort of potentially experiment, like put in some, if you like data, right, to put some data into something like a Strava, into a Claude or something like that, and have it give you some feedback. That's what I think is kind of interesting to me, is like, because what's kind of cool is that theoretically it could give you more feedback than your coach. Like, I'm sure your coach is amazing. I'm sure your coach looks at your training, but like the idea of if everything was going into AI and is always on looking at every workout, you would think it could potentially give you more. Now, is it better feedback? I don't know. Is it like, so what do you think? What would you advise people?
So look, I haven't used one of these plans. Dale briefly used Runner, and actually it was pretty good and it's quite affordable. And the workouts looked like the sort of thing that maybe your coach would program. And it was quite clever in you could make adjustments, and it was good at it does start. I think it started off a bit slower than he was expecting, but needless to say, it was quite good. And there are loads of people using Runner app. Loads, because it's affordable. And I think that there is great success for many people that they use the Runner app. Now, what I think is, I'll go to the second part of the question first. I would say to somebody, if they're a new runner, just get a standard plan. Like, I'm just dropping a name here, but someone like Nick Bester, who's a South African runner, he's like a 219. You can buy for cheap his marathon plans for certain, I think he might have done them for certain times that you think if you're going to go sub 4 or whatever it is. And then you could just follow that. But because I think maybe once you've done at least one marathon block, you might go to something like Runner. You just need something to get you the experience. I can tell you, I did with the coach, when I decided I'm going to run a marathon, I did it with my coach. I didn't even do any of these marathon pace interval sessions. We were just building a base, couple of one hill sprint day, one tempo day. The rest were easy runs and long runs. And that was it. And I did a 3:13 on my first marathon. But you built the base, you got that experience. And I think that was better for me than going straight into an app that's going to start putting all sorts of other things in. And also you got the confidence that you can kind of just ask questions. And I think that's quite important. Now, there are lots of people I know who almost combine things. So they may have the Runner app, but that might give them some ideas of things they can do, but they've also got the experience from before. You can go back into your Training Peaks or Strava and see what you did before and say, yeah, look, my fitness was great then. You can kind of replicate things that you've done before. And actually, that's what Dale's going to do. A bit of a combination of downloading all of his data, looking at what worked well, and kind of just reprogramming it back into Training Peaks, because he knows himself while he's run 30 plus marathons. He's kind of quite experienced. He doesn't need the hand holding. I'm like quite dependent. I like to ask a lot of questions. So what do? I've never used Runner, but I do use Claude like you do. So I often just screenshot my stats after a run with my heart rate and all the performance stats that come out of Garmin. And then I'll upload it and I'll get some feedback on the run and what do I think and that kind of a thing. Often talk to it about paces, what they think I might be able to do in a certain pace, etc. So what I may do is actually upload a whole lot of historical data, like you're saying. But I love having a coach because I like the human element. So for me, I would always put my coach's view first, but what it often does is it often gives me a topic to take to my coach. What do you think about this with my heart rate? What do you think about, do you think we should be doing more of this or more of that? So for example, the other day I thought I want to do a bit more to prepare for a 5K or a 10K. So I will go to Claude and say, give me 5 great 10K workouts.
Yeah.
And then I will actually, sometimes I do test my coach. I put what my coach has given me in there to say, what do you think? Why has my coach put that session in, etc. So I think it can be really useful alongside whatever you're doing. An absolute beginner, I'm not sure it's the right thing. But I think Runner thinks that it is. But I also think it's great to just experiment and try different things.
Yeah, I think so too. I think also knowing what you're like, and I think that there's a lot to be said for something like a Runner if you just want to have some sort of plan and some sort of something that you can program in and it can start to be responsive. If you don't like the idea of week marathon plan or whatever and just like following that, which I can think both of us sort of say, I think that's a great first step of just picking a sort of a standard plan and sort of like, but yeah. I think learn what you like and whether you like data or don't want it. The good and bad thing with the AI is you get lots of data, but it can get like overwhelming as well.
Get overwhelming.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, cool. That was a nice question. Let me
That
see
was a
what our
really great
next one
question.
is on our list. Right, here we
One
go.
other thing that I think is interesting, I think the question asked a bit about accountability. I think that is interesting because it's completely different than having a coach.
Yeah.
Because like I've done bits where it's like I remember when after I'd had my big races and I worked with I was playing with Claude to figure out when I would come back to run and when I would have some time off and then build back. And I was pretty diligent with it for like a couple like 10 days. And then I just started to ignore everything it said. You know, I was like, oh, now I'm off and I'm doing my thing. And so it's sort of like it's a lot it doesn't have that same sort of accountability.
Yeah, you're right.
But if you're
Right.
someone, it's like who is enjoying like putting info in after each run, or it's in a way you find a way to do that easily, I can see it sort of becoming this sort of quite a running dialogue.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of criticism for Runner about because a very well-known running influencer, Mary McCarthy, who's got loads of followers, and she's a really good runner. She is a runner representative, and she got a stress fracture, and so everybody on the internet went mad that.
Yeah.
Is it because of the Runner app has given her a stress fracture? And I've heard her being interviewed by a couple of people, and absolutely not. It's actually got nothing to do with the app. So it's. I think there is a bit around. You can't just follow something blindly if you are in pain or if you feel like it's not working for you. So you do need to be able to ask questions. So that is my. You still need to use your common sense.
Yes.
And I think someone like me, who's very much like, it's in the plan, I'm doing it, I would probably struggle with that. So for me, if I see something in my plan, I'm not feeling great, I sort of check with my coach, do you think I should do this or not? She may say, drop out 2 reps. I wouldn't just do that on my own because that's not my wiring.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you also need to know what sort of a person you are.
Yeah,
I think that's so
true.
Yeah.
I think you do need to know what you're like. And I think as well, there's as part of, again, joining a running group, I think can be really helpful. So here in San Antonio, there's a kind of one of the biggest road running groups is called the Downtown Run Group. And they will have like in marathon season, particularly for like, okay, so like they'll probably be kicking off in August. Think the San Antonio Marathon is coming up. So they'll have a lot of people and the half. And so then the cool thing that they will do, for example, is like they'll do a sequence of long runs because they do a long run every Saturday. So you could basically, if you were doing like the half, and they have a route for the half marathoners and a route for the marathoners. And so they'll do so you can almost like outsource the building of your long run to them. And again, they're very much like what you would have said before, like when you first did it, when you likely were first training, your long run was like, just run the long run. The whole challenge is going to be, now you're running 14 miles. Now you're running 16 miles. Hey, you're going to do an 18-mile long run.
And eventually you'll do a 32 or 34K run, and then you've done your peak week.
And then you've done your peak week. And for most people early on, they don't need to do specific marathon paced efforts doing it or like overthinking the long run. And then if you have a group that goes to, like, I know my track group on Wednesdays will largely, they'll give you they have a standard workout that, you know, probably half the group uses and half the group brings their own thing. So I think there's a way to, like, if you're running with groups, to sort of like, you know, almost like outsource the plan to that group as well.
Oh, definitely.
And then
I think you'll find a lot of people will give you advice in the group. Like, okay, so now you just need to do 2 easy days.
Yeah,
or you need to go and do some hill sprints or whatever. Yeah,
and so you get to,
I think actually when I ran in a club in Cape Town, there was like that.
So then you're not paying for a coach, and those things are like those. I mean, here they're all sponsored groups, so like you don't, as in like you don't need to pay to join the group run. And there might be 50, 60, 100 people doing a weekend, and so there are all sorts of paces. They'll have 8. I think that's for people who are, you know, it's the first time at doing the marathon distance, like going to do a 16 or 18-mile long run. Just having someone who's planned the route for you and is going to have a couple of water stations, like makes it so much easier than like to take some of these variables and these things that can be kind of overwhelming or scary to think about those logistics. So these are great questions this week. Okay.
And actually on Sunday, I did a run locally here, a long run. I did about 24 Ks. So I mapped it all out on Map My Route. And I'd like to pride myself as somebody who can look at a map and a route, memorize it, and then that's it. At the last minute, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take my phone because I'm very new to this area. And had my little flask of water. And I'm glad I did because I hit an area where there was no pavement to run on. And it was quite a busy road. So I had to cut across some farmers' fields and, so yes, to somebody else who's planned the route. Now, I'm imagining if I ran with the local St. Albans group, they would never have created this route that I've created. So, yeah, so I think there is some joy in finding a group to run with. Right, next question.
Okay, so what's a piece of running advice you were given that turned out to be completely wrong for you? I think this is great because I think the thing here is the wrong for you. I sort of felt I've got a couple of contrasting ones right now, which is I've done quite over the last couple of years, done quite a lot of stock training plans. And I've used the swap, David Roach, Megan Roach plans. Because if you join their Patreon for, I think that's $10 a month, you get access to all their plans, which is also a good way. And a lot of those are trail and ultra focused, but they do have like a marathon plan and different kind of plans in there. And I feel like I did one of their plans for Leadville last year, and I don't think it really got my legs strong enough. That was just sort of a thing. Okay. I feel like it was a very run, and they're big focus on running economy, like running economy. And I was like, I think that was like, for me, it missed, or maybe it was like, the strength wasn't made as sort of a primary component of it. I feel like they might have said, do some strength here, do some strength there, but it was it's the bit that always fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one piece where it's like, oh, for me. And then it's interesting. This spring, I've just been doing this more strength focused plan. I think it was Evoke, one of their plans, again, because I don't have a coach. So I purchased one of their plans, which you could put into Training Peaks. And I feel like that's got my legs really strong, but I have also noticed, I do feel like my running economy has gone down. Like, I don't think I'm as fast as I was. So it's not so much the advice is wrong, but like in both of them, they had quite philosophical things, which interestingly for those ones, I'm not sure fully worked for me, which is a piece, it almost goes back to our last thing. Like there's a piece here of like understanding what works for you. And where your weaknesses and strengths and the areas you want to work on or want to sort of prioritize. And then again, this is kind of a reason why it's helpful to have a coach to sort of like, help you navigate this. Yeah. So how about you? What are some, I've probably got some other ones as well.
There's a few things that are coming up for me. So I'll just share them as they're popping into my mind. A few of them are around fueling. And some of it is because the advice has come from people who aren't actually really in the know. So for a long time, I was told, and I think it was also around the time of, there were some books that we all read.
Born to Run, or was it?
Yeah,
Christopher McDougall.
Yeah, so I think there was something around fasted running for quite a while that, and also as you know, being South African, Tim Noakes, very controversial.
Very controversial, yes.
But there was a whole thing around, and I really hold on to these things. It's like, you need to train yourself for fat adaptation and, it's, and that's the important thing. And although I felt like it was working for me, now that I've shifted to absolutely need some proper carbs. And the more I do it, the more I'm like, half a banana is not cutting it here. I'm going to need a whole banana. Then after that, I'm like, no, I'm also going to need some toast. I'm actually going to need 2 slices of toast. Yes. I'm going to need some jam on that toast and this banana, so, and realizing actually does make quite a big difference. So I think the fasted running, which apparently is like the worst thing you can do as a woman, especially, it's like a total no-go.
Total no-go.
So that was definitely advice that I thought was right for me, but probably in retrospect was very bad advice. But it was kind of what people were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that popped into my mind, again around fueling, is people sort of saying you need, 40 grams of carb an hour. And I'm like, even 60 is too low, guys. If you're racing, you need more. So again, that's a fueling one. I think the other one I was thinking was around the warm-up. So I think that I'm starting to feel different distances are different. I need a really good warm up for a 5 and a 10K. A 10 minutes just jog around is not cutting it for me. I've got to do drills. I've got to do strides. I've got to actually feel like I've had a proper run, because I am somebody who I definitely know take a long time to warm up. And in all my running, I find my legs later on. I think I need to. So then one bit of advice I've had, which is really you don't need to do much before the marathon. I'm not sure that that's right for me. I think this business of me having such a higher heart rate during the warm up and during the start of London, some of it's because I've I haven't settled yet. And I know I just take time to settle. So I think I need to do a bit more before my races.
Yeah.
So that's something, because some people are like, well, you don't really need to do much for a marathon. And I sort of think, well, maybe if you're 23, and maybe it's nothing to do with age, but I take time for my legs and muscles and everything to wake up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's something I've been
that.
thinking about.
I'm a big believer in, I need at least, 20-minute proper warm up.
Yeah, minimum. I need 20 minutes, definite.
And with that, and there's like a bunch of running in that as well. Beyond then some strides, like you said, some drills, and then after that, I would do any more like activations like that. I don't even count then like the leg swings or other things that. So I think that's huge.
Some plyos.
So exactly. I think there's a whole thing where like once you start warming up, your lactate spikes, and so you want to get through that, and then it will settle. So that when you start the race, then it's not, this lactate is like super high.
I think that's the thing. Yeah.
So I think that's a really good one. And it's even case for things like hundreds. People think that's crazy, but it's like, I also try to do like a 10-15 minute warm up before a 100-miler, which makes you think like you're going to add extra miles onto this already crazy mile thing.
But I don't think I don't think that matters. I think you've got to start feeling.
Exactly. You got to do, and that's why I think the one lesson I would share with, for any listeners is to also figure out your own warm-up routine.
Yeah, exactly.
And do that every freaking time.
And do it before track, and do it before
track. No, exactly.
But like, and even if you're doing a long run, sometimes I stop at 20 minutes and I just do some of these things and then I carry on.
Yeah, exactly. So I think doing your that same routine, and I think that's the same definitely for like whatever you do before you even start the run. If you swing your legs or do band, I like, if I have the band in the car, I like to do sort of like banded glute work. It's like, you find the thing, because then once you get to race day, you just do the same thing. It's like the same thing. I'm just doing my same routine of the thing I've done like 1,000 times before, that I do before every long run, or before every workout, or before every run. So yeah.
I've got another one. I think there was a bit of a message for a while that, Pilates would be great for running, or yoga would be great for running. And I'm not saying don't do those things, but that is not what you need for building strength. Maybe it'll help with your balance, your core, some mobility, but definitely, no, is what I'm saying. Get to the gym, get it into the squat rack, do lots of single legs, load up the weights. I think that's definitely a message that I think it's changed now, but for a while that was kind of the Pilates is the thing that I'm going to do for my strength for running.
Yeah.
So I kind of disagree on that one. Anything else that you can think of? The other one I had is don't race too much. And I do agree with that in terms of big marathons. But for me personally, I'm actually signing up between now and Chicago. I'm going to do 2 halves. I've got at least 2 10s. I'm going to do some 5s. Not all of them are going to be race. Most of them will be just very hard efforts. But the race practice is so important. Yeah. The nutrition, the nerves, just the preparation, the shoes, the chafe, the whatever it is. You learn so much every time you race. I think that actually racing is so important. That's, for me, it's like really critical. Because you spend so long training. 16-week build for Chicago. You might run 1 or 2 of those a year. And then now this is the one chance that you have, all of that pressure, all these smaller, shorter events. You still want to really do well. You want to try and get better as you go. But the state, like there's another one in a month. So you can go again and I think you learn a lot. So there's a balance, but I think,
I think, it's that lesson again of like, you got to understand yourself and what you need. Like for you right now, based on the last marathons, it's like, hey, I think actually you need some more racing experience. And so that's what makes so much sense. And for someone else, it's like, if there's someone who absolutely takes themselves to the cleaners like every 5K and then 10K and just then it's a different context for a different person.
Yeah.
But I think it's like that's a good one. I've also had the one, I definitely fell down the fasted rabbit hole and did, had periods where I was not fueling enough. And you did great for a little while and then it all fell apart. That's when I got most overtrained and burnt out on running and needed a big reset, is because I just wasn't really fueling the work. So that's definitely, I think that, and again, that thinking has moved on. Any other sort of advice? No, I think those are good ones.
Yep, I think those are good. Anything else from you this week?
No, there's in this peak sport activity, I think I love watching the tour because it's like training, it's endurance. You see them,
It's amazing. Such
hurting and
athletes.
suffering and pushing through and getting up and doing that day over day. This weekend is now another big race in the US. It's called Hard Rock, which is basically I'm going to go and do that course over an adventure the following weekend. But Hard Rock is a very limited number of people who can do it. It's like there's like 250 or 250 people on the start. And so it's not usually like it's not like Western States, but there are some big names there. Tom Evans, who won UTMB, is running, and he's out there training right now. Lots of Instagram reels about him in the mountains. And I think the defending champion, Ludo Pomeray, is back. He's won it 2 times in a row. So it's kind of an England-France showdown, I think, in the American Alps of southern Colorado. So I'm looking forward to following that, and also get excited because I think they have a live stream and they'll have some good drone coverage, and it should be stunning. So that's going to get me in the mood of
drone
going out there.
Coverage must have really changed how you can view all of these, trail runs.
Really has. It really has. And it's really made you really want to see it and then be part of it. And I was even listening to something, it's sort of, how in seeing this, you want to go somewhere because the tour started in Barcelona. And obviously Barcelona pays or ASO, the organizer of the Tour de France, a lot of money for them to host the start of the tour in Spain or in Spain, in Catalonia. But the number of people, they were just the couple of podcasts I listened to were like, wow, doesn't Barcelona look amazing? I want to go to Barcelona now. It's you really seeing these races helps you. I mean, that's what I love about the tour. It's these big alpine sea, even when they're just cycling across the valley and then you see the big mountains, you're like, I want to go there.
Yeah, it's really great. And apparently it's very hot today, so they're struggling in the heat, but I'm looking forward to catching up and watching how the day went.
Yes, same here.
On that note, Rory Linklater, I saw on this interview that I was listening to, he is keen for a Western States one of these days when he's finished. So I thought that was quite cool for such a sort of hardcore road runner. So you've got some people coming over to the dark side.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah, he did the weekend before Western States is a race called Broken Arrow, also in Tahoe.
Oh, did he do Tahoe.
That? And they have 3 races. They have an ascent, which is just what is that? It's 3 miles uphill, just from the bottom to the top of the peak. And it's a VO2 max workout. It's just hardcore. I think it's 20, 25, 30 minutes, something like that. He did not, I think he came in the top 10. He didn't so he did that. But he's definitely got he's showing interest and, like you said, the taste that he wants to do more of this trail running. So
brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Good stuff. Well,
okay, good. Good luck for the week ahead.
You too. Good luck. A good week of training, and then we'll reconvene once more before I head out to the
and hopefully I've not disgraced myself in the 10K this weekend. This is the one that I shared before. The pacer, the one got injured and dropped out, and then the other one kind of went too slow and went too fast.
So are you going to run with the pacer this weekend? Are you going to follow the pace group?
Okay. I think so. I've already looked them up. How funny and how stalkerish is that?
And what pace group is that?
Athletics. It's the sub 40. It's the only sort of one.
Sub 40.
So they're from the Oxford Athletics Club, and they're both very established cross countryers and track athletes, according to my internet search. So I'm thinking, you know what? Let's give them another go this year, because because I'm not really running very fast at the moment, so I think I might need to sit on the back of a group. So let's see how we go. I love it. You'll see it on Strava on Sunday.
I'm sure I will. All right then. Have a good week,
nice
Alice.
To see you. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.